Well, hello there, friends and family. Hey, Cleo, you down there at Papa's feet? And there's Magoo, all stretched out asleep on the front porch. Magoo, you asleep? Yep. Well, now would probably be a good time to take a little walkabout. And that, and chit-chat a while. Well, we can do a walkabout and a talkabout. What about that? And I'm sure y'all can hear the birds. They're just chirping away. It's about 3 in the afternoon. Of course, birds, I'm disturbing them right now over here on the north side lawn because all their bird feeders are all filled up. And of course, they're wanting to eat. And we got some of our wheat drying. And that, I'm not sure what we'll do with it. Have you ever thought about how much ground it takes to plant wheat just for one loaf of bread? I know what the answer is, but if you're curious sometimes, look that up on old Mr. Google or Mrs. Bean, or you can use the ducky one too, whatever is your favorite. But I guess when we last spoke, we were planting tomatoes, and then we got them in, and we had one left over, and he's up here, around the old clothesline pole planting area. We got this little beefsteak right here, as you can see, looking fine. And that, we'll have to give him a little drink later in the evening. And of course, all the beans are looking pretty good now. I mean, these ones here on the right side, they got some catching up to do where the slugs sort of feasted on them. But we have put out our beer plates. And I mean, it's simple. You can use any shallow container. I bought these little old saucers from Walmart. I think I paid 50 cents a piece for them. And you just fill them up with some cheap beer. Slugs come over. And I don't know if they drowned or they just party and drink themselves to death. But anyway, next morning, if you got slugs, they'll be in there and they'll be dead. And sometimes some other things as well, but nothing that you really want. But beans are starting to come along. Of course, starting to get good weather for growing beans. We've been so cool. Of course, not cool today. Woo! We're 88. May hit 90. Supposedly by 5 p.m. will be 90. But the beans are coming along. Pretty soon, they'll start to wrap around these poles. Now, I've got to put a couple more poles in here because, see, beans, pole beans, reason they're called pole, they twirl around the pole. They just wrap themselves. So, if you don't have one pole per bean plant, like these two here will try to wrap themselves around this one. And what can happen is one will wrap really tight, killing the other one. I've seen it happen. Not all the time, but sometimes. So I've got to cut some more and put in here, like this one right here. He don't have his own pole. But if you try to run string horizontally and get pole beans to climb it, that's not going to happen. Because they're not like English peas or like cucumbers. They don't have tendrils that they can wrap around horizontal sticks like this or strings. Now cucumbers, you can run all horizontal and they'll wrap their little tendrils around it and keep right on going. And that, my friends, is some older gentleman that thinks having a real loud Jeep is really cool. I guess he's reliving his childhood. I can remember those days. But I was over here this morning looking at my possum grapes, and I'm sure you can see them too up there. All the clusters. Woo, they're everywhere now. I mean, these vines are loaded up with clusters all up through that canopy. They're just everywhere. So we will be making at least some jam or jelly, at the very least. I'm going to keep a close eye on these, and I'm going to do my best to beat the birds to them. No, I did beat the birds to some of them last year. Now they're not much good for just eating fresh because of the seeds, but juicing them, if you got a juicer or making jams and jellies, or if you want to make some wine, and make fine wine. There's something else I'd like to show you. See these grape leaves? Back in the old days, well, they put certain things in pickles to keep them crisp. I'm not sure what. Some people put alum in it, in their pickles. And I'm sure some of you ladies out there know what to put in pickles. But I can remember my daddy and granddaddy using grape leaves. And you won't believe it, but it works because of the tannins that are in the grape leaves, which makes me wonder if you couldn't use oak leaves too, but since they're chock full of tannins, but maybe the grape leaves just are more flavorful. Who knows? But plenty of possum grapes this year. Ooh, now that is a blessing. Trust me. And I noticed another thing. Now, I think last time we talked, I talked about potatoes hadn't started sprouting up through, but white potatoes, they take longer. And I'm like all of y'all, I sort of start to get worried, start doubting myself. But let me bring you down here. I'm gonna bring you down close, try not to get you dirty. You see right there? See them? See that right there? See that right there? And there's more. Potatoes are just starting to pop their heads up in that trench. So tonight they'll get watered too. I've just been waiting to see them poke their little heads up through the dirt. And old raised bed looking pretty good. Popped a few carrots out of here last night for dinner. Of course, we're watering this in the morning. You can see the soil's still real moist. And then I check it in the evening. And this bed holds good moisture. And if you want to see how to fill up a raised bed for as cheap as possible, I have a video on that. If you like, you can look it up. Just do a search on my channel page and it should pop up for you. Still waiting on those radishes to dry. But the garlic chives are looking good. Gave them some fertilizer. They've all had their fish. So the oregano, the onions, the carrots, the thyme. Oh, the thyme down in here. Ooh, now you pick a sprig of that off, pop it in your chomper. Ooh, it's thymy. And I told y'all what I got garlic chives growing wild all through the backyard. And I showed them to you when the yard was a jungle. And I know some were worried that when I mowed them down they wouldn't come back. Well, I'm going to tell you something about garlic chives. See them right here? Now I mowed them down. And here they are. They're all back. And they're all up through here. See? Right here too. And the edges keep on going. Right up in here too. You can see. Because they're so much taller than the surrounding grass. So not only do I got them in the pot, they're all throughout, interspersed in this backyard. They don't hurt to mow. Now, if you want, you can come out here, cut the tops off with scissors, and wash them up. Let them dry a little bit. Throw them in a Ziploc. They'll last a couple weeks in the old fridge. Or you can cut them up and you can freeze them. Just a little tip there. Now, what was I doing yesterday? I didn't get a video out. Well, as you can see, we've been doing some burning. And mostly what we've been doing is burning out stumps. Because what you're looking at here is what used to be one of my main garden spots. I know it don't look that way now. But you can look at that video, past times, here at Deep South Bama, and you'll see it right here. Because over there, hidden those trees, is the little white shop, which you're going to be seeing it again very soon, because the trees are going to be coming down. They got to. But I had 3 popcorn trees. That's what we call them here in the South. They're actually Chinese tallow trees, and they're extremely invasive species. And 3 of them had took root here, and I got to get those stumps out. Well, thankfully, Chinese tallow trees, and you can look all this up, folks, they don't have a deep taproot. So you have the stump like here, and it goes down about 6 inches. And then the roots spread off this stump, and that's what makes a Chinese tallow tree so hard to eradicate. And I actually got a video on how to kill a tree stump without using chemicals and that. And that's in my list of videos too, if you want to look at it. And that was killing these Chinese tallow tree stumps. Because you can go read what the Forest Service has to say. They've tried clear cutting, controlled fire burns, multiple herbicide applications, and other than constantly hitting them with herbicide, nothing seems to eradicate them. And I will say it took me all last year to kill these, so no joke. They're intense. But anyway, since they have such a shallow stump, and the roots are fairly shallow, and that's how it keeps propagating. You kill this stump, and then another Chinese tallow tree will pop up on a root anywhere from 6 inches to 1 foot to 2 foot away. You got to keep killing them. And finally, I got these 3 killed. There's one right here. There was a much larger one right here that I've been burning on this stump. And then there was the largest one, which is right over here. As you can see, it's still smoldering. Now, I dug down underneath that pile of coals, and the stump is totally burnt up. Nothing below it now but dirt. Of course, there's going to be roots coming out in all directions from that stump. And I'm still going to have to, when I bring the big rear tine cultivator in here to start reworking this plot, I'll encounter those roots. Of course, I'll have to cut them out, and it's going to be a hassle. Not to mention the roots from those trees over there, which are everything from oak trees to hackberry trees to Chinese privet. And I know some think that looks so beautiful and cool. Yeah, but it's shading one of my best garden plots, and the roots are all invading it. So basically right now the ground is not usable. And depending on how things are going, I might need that. Now let me show you. Here's one of those Chinese tallow trees right here. See it? Now I actually cut this off last year. Right down here. You can see. Cut it off. And all year long, I kept all the sprouts cut off of it. Well, this spring, it resprouted, and this is how much it's grown since it resprouted this year. That thing's up there now approaching 15 feet. Now you see why they're so invasive in the southwest, southeast. And here again, this was a tree that was brought over because it is a pretty tree. And part of the reason they call it popcorn is because it's just loaded up with seed pods, and when they open, they look like popcorn. Of course, they fall. And then you have millions of trees sprouting, which is another way they propagate, not only through the roots, but through all the seeds. But this one's going to get eradicated too. It just don't know it yet, but it's going to get cut down to a stump. And then I'll kill the stump, burn the stump out, just like I did these. But that's what I was doing yesterday, among watering, planting, getting the tomatoes finished. And I'm going to continue that tonight. And I just love a fire. Whew. You just sit there, stare into it, and maybe cook some weenies. Oh, my son came by today and brought me some groceries. Brought me some fresh tomatoes. Ooh, some really nice ones. He picked out really good ones. And some potato chips, Lay's, Fritos, my two favorites. And he got me some cream cheese, because I eat a lot of cream cheese, to be honest with you. And he got me a country cut ribeye steak, because he thought Daddy just needed to eat a steak. And a country cut, or country ribeye, is a bone-in ribeye about 2 inches thick. It's a nice looking steak. I wouldn't have bought it for myself personally. And he, of course, he brought by some milk and some other things as well. And of course I tried to pay him, but he said no. It was on him this time. So I really do thank my son James. He's a good man. Times have been tough for him, but he's making it through this. His business is barely surviving, but he's still got it open. He's still moving forward. So as you can see, we're over here where we showed you on the last video how to plant a tomato plant. And now as you can see, all 4 of them are in there. Well, there were 5. That's why one of them's up there by the beans on the clothesline pole planting area. And the first 2 here are the Atkinsons. Now, you saw how I cut the limbs off, and I put about 2/3 of these below ground. And that, now I'm going to do something now, and I should have done it when I put them in there. That's probably going to shock a bunch of y'all, and y'all going to scream. You see these blossoms right here? See, these plants don't need to be thinking about setting tomatoes right now. You know what they need to be thinking about? They need to be thinking about developing roots. And that, you got to make sure you don't pinch out the top. So make sure you're pinching the flowers. So they're gone. Now why did I do that? Now, I know some of y'all are screaming right now. Ah! No, Mr. Tom. I want them to put all their energy in to developing the roots and getting established. Not trying to set fruit. It's too early. It'll put the plants way behind, and they will remain behind all year. It's a Small sacrifice in the beginning to get bigger rewards throughout the season. Trust me, you can look this up. And we got one over here on this other Atkinson down here. See it right there? Okay, everybody scream with me. Ah! Because we got it too. So now they can just try to put all their energy into getting established and developing the roots and shooting up to the sky. There'll be plenty of more flowers and tomatoes here in just a couple of weeks. Trust me. Now, the beef masters down here, they're looking fine. And you know how you know that you've done pretty good setting your tomatoes? If they're all nice and perky, the leaves ain't wilted, they ain't curled up. You see how these are? They're all standing up and proud. Also shows they got enough moisture. Of course, they had their morning drink. Each one of these had 1 gallon. You see this one? Looking fine. And you say, well, how do I know 1 gallon? Well, you can see the ground's still nice and dark brown. Not dried out. Now I do have a moisture meter I also use, but you can use the old-fashioned method. Pop your finger down in there and see how deep down the soil's moist. Now that is if you want to do it the old-fashioned way. Save some money. If not, get you a moisture meter like the one I have. I also have a video on that. How to check things and make sure you're watering enough and getting the water down where it's needed, which is down around the roots. So tonight or later this evening we'll continue on the stumps. Now I still got 2 peppers to plant. I'm thinking about that. And somebody wanted to know, well, what happened to the cucumber? Well, what happened was 8 of them came up. And the slugs, or the birds, ate the tops out of 6 of them. These are the 2 survivors, right there. So, I pulled them out of that little bed over there, stuck them over here, and every night they come over here to my plant table where the slugs can't get to them. Now if a slug makes it up here, then all hope is lost. Trust me. But I've got some different varieties, well, several different varieties of cucumbers, so I'll be replanting. And I'll put those 2 someplace where I know what they are. And that way we can do a trial and see if indeed they're worth the money. So that's what we've been up to. Not a whole lot. Of course, I have been sorting through blessings again because I have a video coming out on those this Sunday. Spent a couple hours with my son today, chit-chatting. You know, car things, business things, how things are looking in Montgomery, which is now one of the nation's new hotspots for COVID-19. Who would have thought? And one interesting, well, there's Magoo. What you doing, little buddy? You just so tired you couldn't do a walkabout with Papa? Oh, gosh. I worked you too hard this morning, didn't I? Yeah? Or are you still recuperating from yesterday? We had such a long day planting tomatoes, clearing, burning stumps. Ooh, we didn't even get in till 10 o'clock. We didn't even get something to eat and a shower till nearly midnight. Then back up again and back out here 8 o'clock this morning. So there we are. Not a whole lot. Tomatoes are looking good. I'm happy. Beans are looking good. I'm happy. The potatoes are poking up, so I'm happy. And the radishes, we picked a couple of them. I forgot to show you the radishes, but oh, that tire planter is just slap full. I'll show you some on the next video. Lettuce, starting to really look good. So everything that we're currently tending and watering and caring for is looking good. Now tomorrow, which will be Saturday, what we've got to do is we've got to get the mulch pulled back on the blueberry bushes, get them all fertilized, and get them watered in, because it's, like I say, it's been now 16 days without rain. And I checked their dirt today with a moisture meter, and it wasn't all the way dry, but they're going to need watering tomorrow, and they're going to need a deep watering, not just a gallon or two. They'll be watered for a while. But before I do that, I want to spread some new fertilizer, and that I got some organic. I think it's 544. I'd have to look. My son picked it up for me and brought it to me today. I think it is 544. It's Walmart's Expert Organic. He said that's all he could find, and that's fine. That'll do. So we'll be redoing the blueberries tomorrow, because they're loaded up with berries. And if I want those berries to ripen, then they're going to need a good long drink, and they're going to need to be fed. And I'll have to do the same thing on the fig tree, get all it raked, fertilized, and ready to mulch with heavy mulching. Next time I mow grass, the fig tree will be the first thing to get fully mulched out. Now, you noticed all that bare ground around those tomato plants. It's not going to be bare very long. The Amazon boxes that we collect, and I collect all of mine, are going to go down, and grass clippings and leaf clippings will go on top of that, and that whole entire area, except for a small square around each tomato plant, so I can still water them in that water well I left and fertilize them, will be left open, and all the rest of that ground will be covered. Now, in that space in front of the tomato plants, if I choose to plant something in there, I'll transplant it, and I'll move the mulch out of the way, cut through the cardboard, dig the hole, set the plant, whatever I plant across the front. I'm still thinking about that. And I'm going to have to think a little bit more. Not sure. See, I just don't want to get a whole lot going, so I can't spend my time on working on the house, because working on the house is supposed to be the #1 project this year. That and getting the cars fixed up and gone, which either way you want to look at it, and the city sort of took care of that for me. Now, something that will be happening here in the next probably May, maybe June, or it could be July. I got to get a tree trimming service to come in, and they're gonna prune back my oak trees, take out any dead, top them some, make them a little bit safer. And I've been putting that off for a long time. Why? Because it costs a lot of money. It's just one of those projects, once you spend the money, you just don't get a real big warm fuzzy over it, you know. It ain't like buying a tractor or chicken coop or, some other thing. But just like putting a roof on the house. It's one of those things you gotta do. And I gotta get her done. And we will. So that's where we are here on May the 15th. On a hot and sultry, humid Friday afternoon in the deep south of Alabama. With my buddy Magoo, conked out at my feet. Magoo, is it just too hot to do anything but siesta? I know. Those people down in Mexico, they got the right idea. You work up until about 11, go inside, kick back, have a little lunch, have a nap, and come back out around 4 or 5 in the evening. Maybe 6 even. But we got way too much to do that, don't we, Magoo? So y'all, I still got evening watering to do. I want to start some peppers. And I may video that while I'm doing it. These are some of my peppers that I've grown here, that I've saved the seeds to. And they're getting a little old. Seed is, not the peppers. And I don't want to lose the genetics. So I'm going to be planting out a bunch of them because the seed is old. So I know the germination rate's going to be really low. So that way, if for no more just one of them germinates, I can carry on that variety that I have developed here, right here, on this piece of ground that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. I got to make sure to get that done. That's going to be on the project list for this evening or early tomorrow morning or late this evening. One thing about gardening and farming, now I'm not farming, and Lord knows compared to a bunch of you, like that southern boy prepper, he got it going on over down there in southwest Louisiana. He really does. And then even Leslie Abner over there in Texas, he got it going on his place too. I'm just so amazed at both those young men. Regan, southern boy prepper, and Leslie Abner. He's got all those raised beds, and he's learning, and so is Regan down in Louisiana. They're learning. And I know both of them appreciate your comments and suggestions, and they look into it. And they're doing some good stuff. And I'm really proud that all of y'all are backing them too, showing them support. Got fine families, they're fine people. And that's what I know about this community, our virtual neighborhood. I'm not sure. There's only a few channels that have as fine a people as what we have here. And that's my opinion. And of course, I might be a little prejudiced, but that. But y'all are some wonderful folks out there. And I know you make what little bit I'm doing here look like hardly nothing. But right now I don't need it. And we can always ramp it up. But y'all, like always, let's pray for those in our community, those that have special issues and needs right now. You'll find them if you read the comments below the videos. Pray with me for, like I always say, all essential workers and those who have to work. And pray for the world as a whole, our nation. That someday soon, God will eradicate this disease from the face of our planet. Because I truly believe He could, and He will. Maybe we just have to heed His word. So, until the next video, y'all take care. Stay safe. Take every precaution. And may God bless you, your families, and loved ones. Till next we speak. Right, Magoo? You got to see this. He is zonked out. Now look at there, Magoo. I put the camera on you, and you're gonna stretch. Look at you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with you. You eat, you fertilize, and you sleep. Well, you also follow me around better than any dog I've ever had. Well, I'm gonna go in and get some cold water before I start the evening chores, okay, Magoo? Don't go nowhere. Not that he would. Later, all.